are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. I'm Brandon Piller, joined by Lalim's Martian at Lalim's Martian, merely a conduit of the streets. And here we are again, another loss covered by me and you, Martian, as the Ottawa Senators lose 7-4 to the Colorado Avalanche at home. And this game kind of shades of the last Colorado Avalanche game where the Ottawa Senators lose 6-4, mixed in with the Calgary Flames game where the Ottawa Senators were up by 1 goal heading into the third period and then allow 4 unanswered goals in the third period to ultimately lose this game. And this was not a pretty sight because this was a game, despite being outmatched by a much better Colorado Avalanche team, the Ottawa Senators, I thought, had a chance to win this game or at least be a lot closer than how it ended up here at 7-4, Martian. What did you think about this ultimate third period collapse by the Sens?
Oh, Pilsy, it was just brutal, man. It was brutal to watch. It's like, they have a great, opportunity going to that third period. They've got, I don't even know this guy's name, Anunen. The goaltender,
yes.
And they got
Justice Anunen.
Like it's his first game of the season. He's their third string goalie. We've got Colorado coming in on a back-to-back. They had took them a while for Colorado to get their legs under them tonight. They didn't really take full advantage of that, although I did think Ottawa had a pretty good first period, and the second period wasn't bad either. Even though Colorado did have a goal disallowed in that period, but then you're up 1 heading into the third period, and you just aren't able to come out with the win, or not even just come out with the win, Pilsy, but even just keep it close. Like Colorado just all of a sudden took over the game, and I just feel bad for all the fans who were in the building tonight, because when you're watching that game, I'm sure they were, people were having a good time. Things were looking good. Yeah. And then the clock strikes around 9:00 at night and the third period is rolling around. And next thing you know, you're looking at a 7-4 loss, and it's just ugly.
Yeah. And it didn't need to be ugly. Like, the stats for this game lean towards the Ottawa Senators, except for when you look at the scoreboard. And this isn't, as the stats pulled up here, like the Ottawa Senators outshoot them. Special teams doesn't decide this game. Both teams go 1 for 3, kind of average special teams there. The Senators dominate in the faceoff dot. They dominate in the Corsi numbers. Like, this is a game that really the Ottawa Senators had in their control, and they let it slip away. And I don't know, call it being a delusional Sens fan, but Martian, I actually thought when the Ottawa Senators challenged that goal for offside and it gets called no goal to keep it at 4-2 kind of midway through the second period, I actually was crazy enough to think, you know what, maybe they can hold on to this. And the Colorado Avalanche, they pull it within 1 goal pretty quickly. And then, Martian, like you tweeted out, essentially it ends up being 5 unanswered goals that put this one to bed for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put it all entirely on Mads Søgaard on this one, but I mean, that was not his best performance at all. I mean, it was pretty much a terrible goaltending performance from Mads Søgaard tonight. At 8-1-8.
I thought he started off well, though, Martian.
Yeah, and he made one really good timely save in the second period when it was 4-3. It was going to be 4-4 on Johnny Drouin with a nice cross crease pass, and he uses his big body to get across, and that was a great save. That was his highlight of the night, I would say. But I mean, other than that, Mads, you gotta, how are you getting beat high so often? You're 6'7". It's like, just stop the puck. We just needed a couple saves there, and it would have been a different story. But I mean, I don't want to give the Great Dane too hard of a time. I know he's a goalie. It's goalie friendly show, and he is, he's a friend of the show, and we do love Mads Søgaard, but. And again, it's not entirely on him. I think there was a few breakdowns and just puck management and things like that in this game that ended up costing the team. But it would have been nice to see him have a better game than that.
Yeah, a couple soft ones. Admittedly, I mean, it's hard to go against that. There's a couple soft goals there, and you were hoping that Mads Søgaard would provide a spark that Anton Forsberg and Jonas Korpisalo have not been able to provide, especially Martian, now that Mad's guy, Justin Peters, the Belleville goalie coach, has been brought up. So he's even got his guy here, unfortunately. First night doesn't go his way. But I mean, again, it's the Colorado Avalanche. Like, I don't know about you, Martian, but I don't think Korpisalo would have fared much better in this situation. Adam, thank you. He's saying, watching Giroux try harder each game and the look of frustration and defeat is killing me. It is hard to see Giroux go through this. He puts in the effort while the rest half-ass it. I would say that's mostly true. Adam, thank you for the comment. But one guy that's not half-assing it out there is Ridley Gregg. I mean, this guy continues to play at a high level. He's been elevated in this lineup to play with Claude Giroux and Brady Tkachuk. That line was incredible tonight. So, yeah, I agree. Giroux, one of the guys that consistently is giving his best effort, but we'd be remiss not to give Ridley Gregg his flowers too, as he had 2 nice goals tonight.
Yeah, and the first one was classic Ridley Gregg. Was hilarious the way he crashed the net, and the puck was just sitting on the goal line. He just he goes in their face first, which it's awesome to see from him. And the vibes were so high, Pillsy, when Ridley Gregg scoring 2 goals. That's pretty cool, right? Like he's still a young player. It's nice to see him going in his rookie season, and does his first multi-goal game. You would hope that the team could rally behind that and try to secure the win. And especially too with Sogard being the young goalie he is, get him a win here too. It's his first start of the year. And man, but it was just like, I'm honestly out of answers for the whole deal. It's like, I don't know why they just can't win. It's just a lack of execution. The Jacques Martin quote you just threw up there is kind of tells it all, or lack of commitment and execution from the team. So I don't know what that means for anyone out there, but it's just not perfect.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, Martian, because the amount of times we've kind of had this, or at least I've brought up this storyline of the Sens needing to take advantage of an opportune situation. They mentioned it on the broadcast. This is a Colorado Avalanche team that played last night. Some of their top dogs, like McKinnon, or I think it was Rantanen and Makar, played upwards of 29 minutes last night. Yeah. And you're not able to jump on a team that relies on those big guys to have big nights. Now, McKinnon did not have a goal in this one, which was a refreshing sight after he had 4 goals in the last game. But Rantanen was up to his usual stuff with 2 goals, and then Cale Makar has an assist as well. So ultimately, those guys don't really decide the game as much as they typically do. But I just thought, Martian, you got a Colorado Avalanche team that's very top-heavy. Second half of back-to-back, playing their 3rd string goalie, and you have the lead going into the 3rd period, and you let it slip away like this. Like, how much of a kind of morale killer is this coming off of a game? Sure, mind you, it's the San Jose Sharks. You have to preface it like that. But that was a big emotional win, getting the game-winning goal late. You try to ride that momentum. You're rested much more than the Avalanche are, and you just let it fall apart like this. Like, the guys in the locker room got to be – I don't know how they're going to deal with this. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is old hat for them.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing this all year, so it's nothing new. It's not a good feeling, I'm sure. They're going in there and they're all probably pissed off and grumpy, and we know how much this team likes each other and how much they probably want to win all together, but who knows if they're really going to get that opportunity the way this season's going, and ultimately the inevitable changes that are going to come from the evaluation process that's going on right now in the front office. And they're new to this team and they're looking at these guys and they're saying, is this the core that's going to be able to get it done? I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, probably not, man. Because the way they're playing,
probably not.
It's famous Daniel Efferson quote, probably not. But they're are still young, but I mean, how much patience can you really have for this group when they continue to show a lack of commitment and execution?
Well, and that's just the thing, Martian. Like, this is a game where it's kind of like Brady Tkachuk said in the intermission of the Calgary game going into the 3rd period. We have a chance to show our maturity here. They had a chance to say, okay, we're up against a good team. We got a lead going into the 3rd. They had the lead for that entire game going into the 3rd. The Avalanche never had the lead here. The Sens were buzzing. And again, the maturity just doesn't help here, as the deserve to win-o-meter Again, not really sure how that works, but apparently it says that the Sens had a 75% chance. Math guy, that's over 100%. 75 plus 25.1. So I'm not sure how accurate the deserve to win meter is, but the eye test matches that. Like, this was a game that I wouldn't say the Colorado won this game as much as I would say the Ottawa Senators lost this one.
Yeah, I wish we could just point to like one or two things that
it's
are
hard to find the one in this game. Yeah,
there isn't one, or just even like one player, or like, I mean, goaltending has been horrible. Sure, that's one thing. Defensive coverage has been horrible. Awesome. The power play has been garbage. That's another thing. Some of the top guys have gone through terrible droughts this season. Like, it's just all like, it's all over the place. There's a variety of negativity that you can look at and say, like, it's a whole mess gone wrong. And I'm as optimistic as they come when it comes to being a Sens fan, to be honest with you. And right now, just like I'm finding it very difficult to look at any positives that are coming from this, because especially when poor us have to come on here and break this game down, and the poor people have to listen to us try to explain what's going on. Nobody has any answers for it. So, including, I don't think, the organization themselves. So it's not good.
Yeah, and Martian, we're not even halfway through this season. Like, we got a long way to go here, and the Ottawa Senators continue to slip out of contention. And this was a game where, again, like, Martian, if they would have taken this to overtime or shootout and got the 1 point, I would have been disappointed that they weren't able to get the win, but at least they're building something, and you've got something to hold on to here. If I'm looking at this game, other than performances from that top line of Brady, Ridley, and Claude Giroux, there's not really much to hold on to move forward momentum-wise to your game up against Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, the first two periods is probably the only thing you can look at and be like, oh, it was good. Like, if the game ended after two, it was like, it was fine. But that third period could like suck the entire life out of everybody in that building and everyone watching the game and everyone on the team, and that whole third period, it couldn't have gone any worse, to be honest with you. I don't think. Like, there's nothing that I can look at and be like, it could be worse. Honestly, it was as bad as you could imagine. 4 unanswered goals in the third, 5 unanswered total there. I mean, the Sens were up 4-2 and they lose 7-4. That's a debacle. And it's embarrassing. It makes it embarrassing to be in a way, it makes it embarrassing even further to be a Sens fan at this point, right? Like,
it's tough.
I mean, that's kind of like a pretty a hard statement. But I mean, like, I have people quote tweeting a tweet of mine from at the beginning of the season where I'm like,
oh no,
the rebuild is over, or the Sens are going to be good and other fan bases can't handle it. I think I tweeted something like that out. And I've got like Habs fans who were watching this game going and quote tweeting it with like laughing emojis. And I'm just like, I can't even engage with
nothing.
Winning that battle. But yeah, it's just
Yeah, we have something similar. I'm pretty sure Ross tweeted out after the Sens beat the Capitals, 6-1 or whatever that was at the start of the season. The Ottawa Senators are going to be a problem for the rest of the league. I believe that was the tweet. And that one, unfortunately, is not really going our way here.
And we might have to hold off on that kind of tweet.
There it is, October 18th.
45 quote tweets, and I bet about 30 of them have come in the last.
And look at the bookmarks, Martian.
Yeah.
Those are Habs, Leafs, and Red Wings fans. So that's tough as people listening in their car the next day. On October 18th, Locked On Senators at Sen Central on Twitter tweeted, the Ottawa Senators are about to be a problem for the entire NHL. Well, not so much.
No, they're just going to be a problem for themselves. It's a problem. Oh, man, I'm really excited to do our Sen Central standouts tonight.
Yes, and Hansel's excited also to do the Sen Central standouts. But yeah, I think, Martian, a little tease is we will probably have the same Sen Central standouts that I think there'll be one different, but it seems to be the same characters that are appearing as our Send Central standouts here. And we'll get to those after a quick message from our friends over at the Glebe Central Pub, the GCP. You guys already know every single postcast is presented by our friends over at the Glebe Central Pub. It is in the heart of the Glebe. You can check them out at 779 Bank Street. The Glebe Central Pub has so much fun stuff going on. They got trivia night, they got speed dating, they're covering soccer. PWHL is right around the corner now, so if you want to check out a game there, you got to head to the GCP before and after the game. And if you want to go to the Glebe Central Pub before and after a game, do it for the Sens game. They got the Sens shuttle. Go to glebecentralpub.com and you can find all the dates they're doing the shuttle. $17 gets you a round trip to the game from the pub, and then once the game's over, they meet. You get back on the school bus, go back to the Glebe Central Pub to vibe or to vent. So check it out today, guys, at 779 Bank Street. It's the Glebe Central Pub. The vibes are free at the GCP. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the official ticketing app of the Locked On Podcast Network, and we love Game Time because you don't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event, because Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for not just sports. You can get music, comedy, and theater with last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You get the lowest price guarantee, even event cancellation protection, and more. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, boom, tickets on your phone. They make it easy for you to stop worrying about the stress and get hyped for your night out. And the Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. In fact, if you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time's going to go ahead and credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, everyone, we're here with the Locked On Senators podcast, the postcast after a 7-4 loss at the hands of the Colorado Avalanche at home. I'm Brandon Piller, joined by Laleem's Martian. If you heard me say the score, you knew it was just Martian and I. We were always stuck covering these losses somehow, some way. Swanky Pants, one of our favorite postcast characters. Plus side, Kubalik made 2 moves with the puck on the stick, bringing his total time with puck on the stick to 2.7 seconds for the season. That might even be generous, Swanky Pants. Mr. Pants. Venting and appreciating your work, boys. Many thanks. No, Mr. Pants, thank you.
He actually had one play where he carried it from his own blue line almost all the way to the other team's net. So that was a bit of a record for Kubalik to have the puck on the stick. I almost didn't recognize him, to be honest, because we're used to him just firing it away as soon as he gets it. But yeah, jokes aside, didn't notice Kubalik. I haven't noticed Kubalik in like 3 or 4 games. So he's an invisible man. He's like Harry Potter in the Chamber of Secrets with the invisibility cloak on out there. I don't know.
Nice. I like the Harry Potter reference, Martian. The Kubalik not doing a whole lot out here. Probably one of the guys that's going to be shipped out here, as the Ottawa Senators are looking more and more like sellers at the trade deadline, and as they remain in the basement cellar of the league standings. Not like Martian, we're not even looking at division standings anymore. We're not even looking at conference standings anymore. We are in the basement of the league standings.
Don't give our producer any ideas, because I do not want to see the tankathon come rolling up here. And we're not spinning tonight. We don't have time for that.
Okay. You heard it from Martian. We are not spinning. We are not in the mood. What I am in the mood for, though, Martian, is, look, when losing efforts like this pile up, there are some players that can say, hey, I had my guy. And that is where we have our Send Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub. Martian, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? I honestly think there is only 2 players that could be available for Send Central standout. And A saying, Lalim is not submissive to the spins. He'll get there. We'll wear him down. If I can be worn down for the spins on the postcast, so can Mr. Martian here. But yeah, do you want to go first in the standouts, or you want to snap it to me?
I'll
Either
go
way, I'm
first
good.
in the standout, sure. And I mean,
Go
I
off,
think
King.
it's pretty obvious here. I'm gonna go with Mad Sogard, man. I think Matt. Just kidding. I'm just joking.
I don't think you've ever picked a goalie as your standout once.
Yeah,
Martian
sure I have.
hates goalies.
Sure, I
Hates
have.
goalies.
No, someone's gonna fact check that. I definitely have before. But yeah, I'm going Ridley Gregg. I mean, he had 2 goals, first multi-goal game of his career. He played a solid 18-01 tonight. He's taking advantage of the opportunity of being on the first line with Tkachuk and Giroux. I think obviously he loves playing with Giroux. Those are 2 very intense players that he's with. He's an intense player himself. It's a great fit. And yeah, I mean, he's definitely not the problem. I mean, he was a +1 again tonight, and he leads the team in plus minus, right? So, what is he now? +16 or +19? I can't remember, but either way, he's seemingly our most responsible defensive forward, and he's a rookie. So Ridley Gregg, considering everything that went wrong tonight, he had a nice night. Yeah, and he was 60% in the dot too. So Ridley Gregg had a nice little night here tonight. And I just love the way he's always in the mix too. He took his classic minor tonight, cross-checking, right? And like he's always just, if there's something happening in front of the net, he's always pissing guys off. And I've said this before, but he kind of like, I think he's still under the radar amongst the veterans in the league, and like nobody really knows that he's such a menace.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree with you. Ridley Gregg definitely a central standout. Maybe we can have a little discussion here, Martian, and we don't have to expand too much on this, but I'd like to at least kind of open this door, seeing as Shane Pinto is having practice. He's at the games. We saw him at the games
5 days
today.
away from Pinto.
Yeah, we're close to Shane Pinto returning. So my question to you is, assuming Josh Norris comes back into the lineup, now you've got Tim Stützle, Josh Norris, Ridley Gregg, Mark Kastelic, Rourke Chartier. You got all these guys as centermen. Who do you take out of the lineup and or move to the wing? Because the way Ridley Gregg is playing, like I think before this little stretch, we could have said, oh, you just move Ridley Gregg to left wing, have Pinto play third line center, move Gregg to the left wing there. But there is not a chance in hell that I am breaking up this top line of Brady Tkachuk, Ridley Gregg, and Claude Giroux. Martian, I'll let you hop in here after I mention this stat. They dominated tonight. They had an 82.35 Corsi 4 percentage. That's unheard of. Corsi 4, 28. Corsi against 6. So that's talking about all shot attempts. So like clearly you can see that these 3, when they're together, are dominating. So how would you kind of approach this when Pinto comes back to the lineup? And people in the chat, let us know what you would do as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't put enough thought into this to give you a really like strong answer, but just like you asking me and me just going instinctually, what am I thinking on this? I think once Josh Norris returns, I mean, none of those top guys that we're mentioning here, Stützle, Pinto, Gregg, are going to be on the 4th line. So we're not going to do that.
Definitely not.
Rourke Chartier is probably still going to be the 4th line center. So one of those top 4 guys needs to move to a wing. And right now I'm looking at Ridley Gregg, and I can't really say, and I agree with you, we're not going to break that line up. Pinto's a natural centerman. He's a big body. He's perfect to play center. And so for me right now, and Stützle as well, like there's no point in putting Stützle back to the wing. He's more effective as a center. We've seen that. So that leaves Josh Norris as the guy who is probably on the outside of the middle looking in, right? He's a shooter anyways. And this season we've seen it, his I guess intensity in the corners and his ability to battle has been a little softer than we've seen in years past. I know like he's always been kind of known as pretty defensively responsible as a centerman, but you can still do that on the wing too. And I think it's worth a try trying to move Josh Norris to the wing. Maybe where he can get open a little more for that shooting rather than being in the middle of the ice. Because we know he gets a lot of his work done from that side on the power play when it comes to goal scoring anyways. So it might work. So I think you move Norris to the wing and you play him with either Stützle or Pinto and there you have it.
Yeah,
I
Martian.
don't hate it. I don't hate the idea. It's the first time I've ever talked about it, but in theory, it's probably the best thing to do.
Well, it seems like the chat agrees with you, and I kind of, when you start working it down and kind of process of elimination, I do agree. I think Norris makes the most sense to move to the wing, especially this is a guy that he's got the shoulder injury. So if he's taking less draws, I don't mind that, even though that hasn't been an issue this year. I'm not about to say that's been an issue, but just in general. And then this is a guy that he's got such a good shot. So if you can have him less worried about kind of a two-way game and just have him get ready to use that shot, I don't mind it. Now, I don't know. People in the chat can let us know if they have an answer, but I can't think of a time Josh Norris has played the wing really at all. So that would be something new for him, which is concerning. But then also, you're looking at a guy that you're paying first and or second line center money, and now you're shifting him to the wing as default just because Shane Pinto, a guy who's going to probably sign for a qualifying offer, is back into the lineup. That's not a good sign for the future moving forward.
You know what? We might be overthinking it, Billsy. I think the most likely scenario is that they do keep Norris at center, and then I mean, Ridley Gregg should, as the rookie or whatever.
How do you break that lineup though?
I mean, I think you just do. I don't know. Everyone kind of slots back down, get back to the regular lineup, but it's so hard to put thought into that right now.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's why I preface it. I don't want to fully kind of open this Pandora's box here. I just wanted to kind of take a peek and see what people thought, see what you thought. So it's an interesting discussion that we will certainly get into more in depth in episodes of the Locked On Senators podcast. Now, you took Ridley Gregg as your Sen Central standout presented by the Glebe Central Pub. I'm going to go with this line mate, Claude Giroux. 3 assists tonight and 3 primary assists, let me add. I thought Claude had a nice night, as people in the chat were mentioning. This is a guy that shows his passion. He plays hard, and finishing as a +1 in a 7-4 loss, as the rest of that top line did. I thought that was a good effort. Now, he does take 2 penalties, which is I feel like is rare for Claude Giroux, but he gets 4 shots, and this guy is just such a legend when it comes to faceoffs. Like 10 for 12 in the faceoff dot. He goes 7 for 8 in the offensive zone. Like, it's so comforting for me seeing Claude Giroux taking that draw on the power play, so that it's almost an automatic that they get puck possession when he's taking the draw for the power play. So you love to see that. So Claude Giroux, my Sen Central standout.
Yeah, and the only other possibility there could have been Brady Tkachuk, who also had 3 assists tonight. But yeah, I mean, Claude Giroux, he's just last 3 games specifically since the third period of the game. Who were they playing? Jeez, I'm already blanking. But it was 2 games ago. The end of the game, he had those 2 goals, and then he carried it over to the last game. And then tonight, he looked great again tonight. So, yeah, Claude Giroux, great choice there, Pills. Kind of a no-brainer, but I'll give you credit. Nice choice.
I mean, we don't have options other than to go with the low-hanging fruit and the no-brainers, Martian, as 7-4 loss. This team, not a lot to be positive about. And, excuse me, we're going to see what the coach has to say. Mr. Jacques Martin, as we've made it a postcast tradition to listen as a group to what interim head coach Jacques Martin has to say. So, producer Ross, hit it.
And it's worth noting here that it looks like Jacques is wearing his Stanley Cup ring.
Love to see it.
2 different games here from your team tonight, first half, second half.
Yeah, I thought the first 40 minutes, I thought we battled hard, and we did a lot of good things, like we got 4 goals, and that should be enough to win a hockey game. I think I was happy for 40 minutes. I thought we had pretty good. We made a couple of mistakes that cost us goal, but I thought we competed hard for 40.
Why is this the narrative that continues to repeat itself? Like, you get a lead and then you give it up in the third.
Well, I think we just got to need better effort from some people. We got to need more determination. Like I look at the 4th goal. I mean, it's a lack of determination and lack of commitment. And to me, when you're ahead and you're protecting the lead, you need to have some urgency in your game.
An ideal game for you guys might be a 1-0, 2-1 win, something where you're producing at both on the defensive end of the ice. How far away are you guys from being able to play that kind of a game?
Well, that's it's a great question. I don't think I have the answer. I think, the key is to keep learning and keep getting better. And, you have no choice. And I think we'll keep working at it and point out the areas that we need to be better and try to make the changes that we need to make.
Does this team just struggle the minute, or maybe not minute, but as soon as they face some adversity, right? They tie at 4-4. It's almost as if you tense up or something. Does this team maybe benefit from mental training, or are they mentally immature at this stage?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. I definitely think, I think part of it is mental. You've got to build some resistance. You got to build some mechanism that when you face adversity, brings the best out of you instead of folding.
How would you rate your young netminder's performance tonight? It kind of been his first NHL game this season.
Not good, Ian.
This year. Yeah. Okay. I think he played some last year. Yeah. Okay. It's hard to evaluate. I think we didn't give him the protection that he needed. I think one area I think that gets us in trouble too is I think we back in the zone too much. Our defense, we've worked a couple of days in practice at our gap, but we got to stand up. We got to force. You can't let players walk into the slot area and then take a shot. I think we got to force the opponents to make a play earlier, like at the blue line.
You say that there's some players whose lack of effort is happening. Do you address those players personally, or do you let them try to figure it out themselves?
No, I think I'll definitely address it. I think that's why we have those game review where we discuss the areas that they need to be better as individual and as players, as a team.
As individuals and as players, as a team, this team needs to be better. I mean, that is pretty much dead on. And I mean, Jacques got to be tired of.
Jacques is hilarious at this stage right now.
He's got nothing to lose.
I feel like he's a guy who's got one foot out the door, retired, and he's just happy to be here. And he's very casual. He's very relaxed. I don't know. It's funny.
But that's the thing. It's not like he's worried about his resume or losing his job or anything like that. This is just, he's just doing this here. And
gravy head coaching time.
Yeah, he can see the issues with this team and the consistent issues with this team. And it's obvious. It keeps happening to the Ottawa Senators. It just feels like there's no real emphasis or drive to stop losing. It just keeps on rolling on, loss after loss, as this team cannot find a way to either hold a lead or come back in a game. And unfortunately, you kind of saw he didn't have a whole lot to say about Matt Sogard performance. Unfortunately, goaltending hasn't been good for this team. It's the old saying, show me a good goalie and I'll show you a good coach. Or maybe it's the other way around. Show me a good coach and I'll show you a good goalie.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's tough here for the Ottawa Senators, as it's another game where Martian, the over on FanDuel was 6.5. The Colorado Avalanche hit the over by themselves here. And that's kind of been a recurring theme for the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, for sure it has been. If you take the under on a Sens game, I mean, you're kind of a fool. It's probably only happened It's probably only happened.
Doesn't happen often.
No, it's a handful of times this year. Definitely under 10, I would have to guess. But I mean, yeah, man, they allow a lot of goals. Sure, they score a decent amount themselves, but they allow a lot of goals. That's pretty much the main issue, and a lot of goals that are just so easily prevented by other NHL teams seemingly around the league too, right? It's just defensive breakdowns, inability to break it out of your own end, and the defensive coverage just not being there, and then boom, it's in the back of your net. Bad goaltending, all that combined, it just ends up being a recipe for a lot of goals.
Yep, it is unfortunate. And as the Colorado Avalanche saw the Montreal Canadiens last night, that will be the Ottawa Senators' next opponent, as Thursday, January 18th, the Montreal Canadiens are coming to the CTC. that's an opportunity for the Ottawa Senators to kind of bounce back here as they go. We have the stat here. The under of 6.5 has hit 13 of 39 games. So you're close, Martian.
I was
Not that often, that's for sure. And the Ottawa Senators are hoping the over under the total is not the biggest concern of next game. They're hoping they can get a boost and beat the Habs at home in front of Ottawa Senators fans, as unfortunately, we all know when the Leafs or Habs come to town, they tend to take over. So it's nice when you can send those fans home packing, not happy, and beating the traffic.
Yeah, that's the thing about playing the Habs and the Leafs too, right? Those are ones I consider real rivalry games,
Yes.
and everything else that has happened in the season doesn't matter anymore when you're in a game against those teams. Like the Leafs could be at the top of the league and they could be playing the Sens. I mean, even these last 5 years when the Sens have been a basement team, right? The Sens seem to come out of pretty decently in half those games at least. So Thursday night will still be a very entertaining game, I'm sure. I'm so not confident in this group to win a hockey game. It's like betting on them to win is almost impossible to do at this point, unless you really just don't like money. But yeah, like, I mean, it'll be a fun game. Let's just leave it at that. Hopefully we can break down a win this time, I should say, instead of another. I was going to say another loss.
Yeah, well, I mean, Martian,
I'm not here for that one. Actually, I've opted out. I'm unavailable for the Thursday nighter this week. But
all right, everybody, let it be known.
You know, it's not going to be a me and you breakdown. So at least
I was just going to say, adjust your FanDuel bets accordingly, knowing it will not be a Pilsy and Martian postcast. Yeah. So there is hope for the Ottawa Senators in their next game Thursday night up against the Montreal Canadiens. This has been another edition of the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Shout out to all 247 people in the chat. Ottawa Senators fans are the best. The team may be absolute dumpster fire. They may lose all the time, but the fans are best in class. So for myself, Brandon Piller, for Liam's Martian, this has been another edition of the Postcast. The Ottawa Senators lose 7-4 to the Colorado Avalanche, but it's a postcast. We vent or revive. We were venting today. Thanks for everyone for joining us. And you can catch another episode of the Locked On Senators podcast tomorrow. Going to be a later record, so look for it in the evening and check it out on wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and of course on YouTube. Thank you all for joining this edition of the Postcast, and check out the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.